You're watching Ride Like a Local with Belt Drive Betty. Welcome back to another episode of Ride Like a Local. This week I'm in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, Alberta for their 8th annual toy run. Lloydminster is now Canada's most rider-friendly community from the 2017 riding season. In the heart of the Canadian Badlands is Drumheller, runner-up community in Canada's most rider-friendly community contest 2017. We invite you to come experience the hospitality, drink in the views of one of Canada's most unique and haunting landscapes, Drumheller, Alberta. I'm in Lloydminster, Saskatchewan, Alberta. What the heck, we'll just call it Canada's most rider-friendly community from the 2017 riding season as voted on by Alberta riders. So I'm being joined right now by a guy, and he is the chairman of the Lloydminster Hog Chapter's Toy Run, which is their biggest toy run, biggest fundraising event of the year. So tell me a little bit about the preparations to get ready for a big day like this.
The preparations start, I guess, kind of in December, and then we start to roll things out more into March and April. The big first push is the corporate sponsorship. So we want to have a poster up and ready to go by, well, this time was January the 6th, before I took off for Alaska, was the push. So we had everything done, printed for July, and then we take July off. And then we start really the hardcore planning in August. But we've got it to the point now where it's almost plug and play. You know, we know what we're doing, we know where we're starting, we know where we're ending, and it's the route. So this is third year that we've run out of Denham Chrysler and at the Stockade. And as I said, it's just kind of plug and play. We just kind of change a few things up to make it a little better. And, you know, we'll do some planning at the end of this one for next year, but it's become almost secondary for us now.
It's amazing when you have a core group of volunteers that work well together, how easily things can come together. It's called flow, right?
Yep,
things
absolutely.
just flow together, and it's an amazing way to raise funds. And your organization, your chapter, last year I heard you raised a fairly substantial amount of money. What was that amount?
We were $68,000 last year, which is the history in this chapter, or this toy run, was 7 years ago. There was a bunch of us sitting around. We said, let's run a toy run, see if it flies. Well, it overwhelmed us the first year as to the number of people that actually showed up, and we weren't prepared for it. And then the donations have just steadily increased. We're not in a good economic situation in Lloydminster. In the last 2 years, we've just steadily increased numbers. We're at 53,500 on our corporate poster this year. So we know that we're going over 60,000 again this year, which just completely blows our minds every year.
Well, and you help the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Kids Sport. What other organizations does this toy run support?
Big Brother, Big Sister, Kids Sport Lloydminster, the Youth Center in Lloydminster, as well as Ronald McConnell's houses in Edmonton and Saskatoon, and then the GOAT and Lloyd FM.
So we have pouring rain today. Not something that this organization committee wanted to see happen. However, if you were to go out and take in the pancake breakfast, there's already 40 people here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. We'll get a good turnout this morning. We'll get a good turnout tonight. We got the Dirt Rich Band playing in our cabaret, and they're a big draw for Lloydminster. So we'll have, we'll be fine. It's the ride will be impacted, the actual physical ride. Everything else is going to be no problem.
Well, there you go. We have some huge optimism from the Toy Run Chair guy. Thank you for taking a few minutes with me. I'm going to catch up with you a little later in the day, and we're going to see if that optimism stays in place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Okay. I'm being joined right now by the Mayor of Lloydminster, Gerald Aalbers. What did you think, sir, when you were told that your fair city won Canada's most rider-friendly community contest?
Well, we felt really good. It was a real compliment to us. We have a lot of folks that ride bikes in this city. Our city is a very active city, and we try to ensure that it stays as clean as possible, as safe as possible, both road conditions as well as protective services. And we're very proud of our city and just reinforcing that we are a great city out here in the middle of the prairie.
Yes, and you have the dubious distinction of being Canada's only border city with the 4 100-foot survey stakes and the longest continuous, the fourth meridian, the longest continuous border.
It is. It often gives us a little grief politically, but, we work with it. And people often ask me, no matter where I am in Canada at meetings and talking to other people, how do you make it work? And as you've driven through the city, it is simply a piece of pavement that divides 2 provinces, but makes 1 city. And the border markers we're very proud of. It's our distinction to show people, explaining it to people from the east because they don't know how the west was divided. The 6-by-6-mile squares on townships, and when they decided to split the provinces of Saskatchewan and Alberta and be created in 1905, they landed right through Main Street here in Lloyd.
Yes, and I'm always intrigued as to how the businesses work and how all of these things, you have Saskatchewan provincial sales tax on one side, no provincial sales tax on the other side. How do you guys manage all of those little intricacies?
Well, first of all, it's called the Lloydminster Charter. It's the only piece of legislation that you will find that's identical in Saskatchewan and Alberta because it's the same piece of legislation approved by both legislatures. So the sales tax factor plays a little bit of a challenge, but that's a provincial matter, and the provincial government of Saskatchewan years ago, and I give them credit, realized that if they did not make an exemption for sales tax, there would be problems. So there is an exemption zone within the city. Now we're standing inside a Dodge dealership here, the Chrysler dealership, Denham Chrysler, and they will sell a vehicle to a Saskatchewan resident. They don't have to charge the sales tax, but when that resident does go to insure the vehicle in Saskatchewan, the government does collect on items that are registered. So if you're driving a bike, I'm afraid you can buy it in Alberta. You're still going to pay PST in Saskatchewan on that bike. But household goods, furniture, and things like that are all tax-free. It allows a level playing field for businesses. So you find businesses on both sides of the border. We've got auto dealerships on both sides. We've got furniture businesses on both sides. It's on both, we've got it stretched out on both sides of the border.
So one other question. How does this city come together? You've got people living in Saskatchewan that, we used to tease our Saskatchewan friends that they were grasshoppers. So you've got Saskatchewan people on one side of the border, you've got Alberta folks on the other side of the border. What's the mentality like? Are you truly all Lloydminsterites, or how does that work exactly?
We are all Lloydminsterites at the beginning. One thing that does divide this city, I can tell you, is football. You can talk hockey and you got Flames and Oilers in Alberta, but when it comes to football, there's the green and white, and then there's the other guys. So it depends on where your loyalties lie. There's even an occasional Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan in this city, but it comes down to football is when the divisions really show up.
Okay, so I shouldn't mention that I'm from Manitoba and that I'm a Bombers fan.
I'll introduce you to the lone Bomber fan in town if you want. He's a friend of mine as well.
Oh, rivalries that call each other friendship. Now there is a unique quality to Lloydminster. So one other thing, what are we going to see on this ride today?
Well, I think that the riders are going to see some great countryside where the weather hasn't been the most cooperative today for the ride, but certainly we have a beautiful makeup of land. We have some flat land, we have some hills, we've got the North Saskatchewan River Valley north of us. You're going to experience lots of different terrain today on the ride. It's an opportunity for people to really showcase the prairie leading to the parkland, or we're really parkland rather than prairie, but we do have some great cattle country, great grain country. You're going to see oil and gas production out in the country as you're driving around. We've got a beautiful part of the world here. We invite people to come and see it every day of the year.
So there you go. Gerald Aalbers, Mayor of the City of Lloydminster, Canada's only border city and Canada's most rider-friendly community of the 2017 riding season. On the Alberta-Saskatchewan border is a welcoming city that was recently crowned as Canada's most rider-friendly community of 2017, Lloydminster. From rider-friendly businesses to great events, Lloydminster, Canada's most rider-friendly community. Come experience it. That's our time for this week, folks. Next week is our last episode of Season 6. Join us when we actually crown Lloydminster as Canada's most rider-friendly community.